Welcome to the channel and welcome to another installment of Around the Coffee Table. Today what we're going to be discussing are audiobooks, and I don't usually listen to audiobooks, mostly because I'm sometimes hesitant about purchasing more listening time on Spotify. So I've set a whole vibe here, right? I have tea. It's called Wedding Day from Harney and Sons. It's really nice. I'm having a incense going in the background. I'm feeling very calm. I have my 18th. My feels like I should be on a bed dying of pneumonia or something, and it's 18 something dress, and that's probably a bad joke, but that's what this is giving to me. But so I just wanted to start out the episode with this installment. I wanted to start out with one of the things that I'm struggling with. It's about dealing with the perception of others, more like seeking validation is one of the things that I struggle with, and I think it has a lot to do with my upbringing, and I won't go into it, but it's one of the things that I struggle with, and it causes me a lot of indecision. I'm indecisive, I'm doubtful of myself, I'm fearful of making mistakes, and just it brings up a lot of negative things. So, and I also, I'm careful. I'm trying to be careful when I receive negative criticism and also positive criticism on the flip side, because I want to be able to exist without needing the validation or the invalidation of others. And I think in doing so, I can live and exist a little more freely. So that's one of the things that I'm thinking about this week. I don't know, I just thought I'd share with you. Moving on. So the first audiobook that I'm going to be discussing is The Wife Upstairs by Freida McFaddon. I had gotten into this audiobook briefly in another episode. I'm calling these episodes coming natural to me, so I'm not going to second guess it. So in another episode of Around the Coffee Table, I brought this up and how this book really threw me for a loop. I'm going to go into it in a little bit. I'm going to get into it a little bit more today. So this book was suggested to me by a fellow book lover, but it turns out that the book that this person was referring to was written by another author, but I was already getting into this one by the time I found out I was reading the wrong one. So by then I decided, I'm just going to go ahead and stick with it. So the main character is Sylvia, and she was very frustrating to read in that her thoughts leaned on the superficial. She isn't very tactful when she's navigating her new job, which is caring for Victoria, who is disabled. She can't walk, so she's in a wheelchair. Victoria. She can't feed herself or speak. It can be kind of painful to read about Sylvia's clumsiness as she navigates through her new job, but her redeeming quality is that she means well. So Sylvia is in her early 20s right now. She's freshly unemployed, and she came upon this opportunity by chance. So as an example of her clumsiness that I've mentioned, her redeeming quality is that she means well, right? And that brings me to how she acquired this job by chance. But she did it in a way that spurred the sympathies of her employer, not on purpose. So she did this very naturally. So what happened is she was at a diner and she saw a person sitting in the booth next to her, and that person started choking. So her knee-jerk reaction was to get up, go to that person, and save them from choking. And I guess this alarmed the lady. This is an older lady that was choking, and immediately starts to, blame Sylvia, point the finger at her and say, well, she was attacking me. She flipped it on its head, and she claims that she wasn't choking, and she causes a big scene at the diner, and she's pushing to get the police called, and it's starting to look really bad for Sylvia, this good deed that she'd done. But luckily in that diner was a man who had seen the entire thing. He gets up calmly and says, no ma'am, she was not attacking you. You can call the police if you like, but I'm willing to say that no, that you are wrong. You are not telling the truth. So that's how she ends up meeting her employer, who on the spot decides to interview her for the job, and she gets it. So again, this is a redeeming quality for Sylvia. So there's hope for her. So another redeeming quality is that during her time with Victoria, she starts to take her job more seriously, in a caring way, not so much as this is just a job way. Sylvia sees that Victoria isn't disabled, as her boss, Victoria's husband, has led her to believe. For example, she can speak. Her speech needs deciphering, but her brain works just fine, and so she tries to communicate with Sylvia, and with Sylvia alone. So she hides the fact that she can speak. Interesting, isn't it? Victoria eventually leads Sylvia to her diary, which she has kept hidden, and Sylvia gets the gist that Victoria wants her to read it. The book then gets split into what's going on in real time and the diary. Okay? So it alternates, the chapters alternate. This part is where I was wondering if I should give up on the book, because Victoria was painfully idealistic, but I stuck with it, and I'm very glad that I did. If you decide to pick this book up or listen to the audiobook, I suggest you do the same. When I think of a psychological thriller / horror, this is a really good example. I do intend to keep McFaddon in mind when I'm looking for books to read. And I've noticed that a lot of her books are on audio, and if they are hard copy, then I'm waiting I'm 104 place hold on my local library. So you're probably, if you're in that same situation, if you find that, then audiobook might be the way to go. I also noticed that this book, I felt like it was gaslighting me the entire way. So I felt like this book had twist upon twist, especially during the end. Just when I thought I had it figured out, and I was in the last chapter, I was thrown for a loop yet again. It was here's a red herring. No, it was this, and then that. It was all the way to the very, very, very end. I didn't know what to think. Obviously, the ends get tied by the last page, of course. But that's what I really enjoyed about this book. I think the only person that has challenged me in this way has been Leanne Moriarty. For the twist, I recommend this book. I give it a 4 out of 5 because it made me feel all the emotions that you would feel when you're watching a psychological thriller movie. So that brings me to my next audiobook, called Ready or Not by Cara Bastone. This book is a 180 compared to what I just got done reading. This is more like a feel-good, fluffy kind of book. When I listened to this book, I thought this is an ideal kind of book to listen to in audio form. I tried to listen to Dr. Sleep in audiobook form, but I really need to pay attention because it's very packed with details, that kind of book. This one I don't need to be, too invested in. I can, this is a kind of book that I can have playing while I'm doing a, like an activity or something. So if you're gonna dip your toes into an audiobook, something that's this kind of flavor is the way to go, I think. So the main character in this book is named Eve, and she gets pregnant after having a one-night stand with a man named Ethan who works in a local bar. The future isn't very optimistic when Eve goes back to tell Ethan about the pregnancy because he tells her that he is now back in a relationship with his on and on, off again girlfriend who he loves very much. The meetings they had seem to just suggest that he wants to be involved in the pregnancy journey, but because this is uncharted territory for Eve, it's made it even harder because the father of her child is in a separate relationship with someone else. Eve spirals downward in her head. So she's feeling all the emotions. I'm pregnant, I don't know what to do, and I have someone who's, honestly very flaky, not really saying anything committing, like, to the pregnancy journey, just kind of implying that he wants to, so it's very messy, and I sympathize. So she tells, like, Ethan that she's in a way like, do I tell Ethan that I'm gonna go to birthing classes, because he's so non-committal about these things? Does she keep him updated about when the baby kicks? What will his girlfriend think? So there's also that aspect because yes, he's in a relationship with another girl, but and because of this, she feels very conflicted on whether she should communicate with him or not, because, like, is she going to be upset? Like, what is she going to think? I don't want to put I don't want to drive a wedge between the relationship. Like, this is a very, very strange situation for her. So it's a lot. And more often than not, it seems that the solution to her problems is to be vocal about her needs and feelings. But if she actually did that, we wouldn't have a book to read. Eve is not without a support system, though, and her support system is in the form of her friend Willa and Willa's brother Shep. Willa and her husband Isamu have been trying to get pregnant for a long time, and when Willa gets the news that Eve is pregnant, Willa becomes radio silent, which is very awkward when you're in the physical presence of each other, which is what happens here. It's heartbreaking because they grew up together, and this is what interrupts the ease of their friendship. Willa takes a very long time to come around because instead of being supportive of her friend, who she claims to love very much, gets caught up in how Eve's pregnancy means for her. I kind of got the feeling that Willa might have seen it as a dig or something. This was hard to listen to because I just wanted to shake Willa, but I've never been in a similar situation, so what do I know? Now that Willa is not counted on in her support system anymore, Shep steps in and is constantly with Eve through her pregnancy. He steps up when no one asked him to, and because of their friendship, it seems natural. Eve is grateful for the help, but because Shep is a thoughtful and warm man, it's easy to accept the help, and she realizes something more may be blossoming. Or is it just her pregnancy hormones? This is the question she asks herself because, again, this is her first rodeo. I give this book a 3 out of 5 stars. It's in the middle of the road for me, and it's also very well narrated. It kept my attention, and honestly, the male voices were very, very entertaining. Freida McFaddon, that book, I forgot to rate that book. I give that book a 5 out of 5. I really enjoyed that one. That one's, well, I give that, it's a 5 out of 5. I'm it's not The Silent Patient, but, like, it's a 5 out of 5 that stands on its own. Like, I'm going to try to not compare books to each other. If I enjoyed it and I have no qualms of it, like, I'll rate it how it deserves to be rated. And I think the McFaddon book is a 5 out of 5. even though the diary was kind of grating to read, but it was necessary for you to understand who Victoria was as a person. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this installment. I hope you have an awesome week, and I hope to see you again very soon. I am going to be working on the next installment right now as soon as I get done filming. I'm excited. I'm loving this book journey for me. Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, let me know. And yeah, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to. So, okay, well, take care of yourself. Bye.